All right. What is up, tycoons? What's up, traders? Super excited for today's video. We're going to talk about Bakkt holdings. This is ticker symbol BKKT. Highly requested. If you guys want to see your stock, your crypto, whatever it is in the next video, I do these viewer requests every week. Just simply comment down below and I'll get to it as soon as possible. Now, what is Bakkt? Okay. Everything you need to know. Bakkt is the brainchild of the New York Stock Exchange owners. Okay, so there's actually a company called ICE, the Intercontinental Exchanges, that owns the New York Stock Exchange, and they also own Bakkt. So, in my opinion, if there is any company that's positioned for crypto, and when and eventually if crypto does see the regulatory standards that it needs, and we do see crypto really start to become truly mainstream, Bakkt is, in my opinion, a company that is definitely primed for success, being owned by the company that owns the New York Stock Exchange. Now, Bakkt wants to make trading crypto assets as normal as trading shares. Right, and we'll take a look at some other stuff. But in brief, Bakkt is a custody service that stores Bitcoin in cold storage, and the platform provides a way for traditional investors to get involved in Bitcoin with U.S. federal regulatory oversight. The owner of the New York Stock Exchange wants to make Bitcoin mainstream. Now, what counts as mainstream? Traditional and financial institutions. If you can get the old money to feel comfortable trading new money, you can bring a huge new wave of investors to the cryptocurrency game and maybe even stabilize it. That's the promise of Bakkt, which hopes to become the on-ramp of the institutional investor. Now, we're going to break down the charts in today's video. We have a couple chart patterns forming. We have an inverse head and shoulders here forming on the daily chart. All right, we also have a bull flag, you could call it here, forming on the daily chart. And then we're going to take a look at the price of Bitcoin as well, because obviously being a crypto related stock, the price of Bitcoin is going to either help or hurt. All right, we'll break all that down. There's some really interesting data, and a lot of people are wondering if there's going to be a gamma squeeze based on the option chain. So we're going to break down some of the option chain data, give you guys my thoughts on that. We'll also use today's sponsor, Simply Wall Street. It's a really great platform that I've been using for a while, and I'm glad to have them as a sponsor. You can use it to understand fundamental analysis, right? If you're not a professional at doing fundamental analysis like me, Simply Wall Street is a great platform that's going to break down some of the fundamentals of a company and make it really easy to understand, and also give you guys some nice graphs and visuals. So we'll be using them to dive into some of the fundamentals when it comes to BKKT, as well as doing a technical analysis and option chain analysis. As always, the content provided on this channel is for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended to be relied upon as legal, financial, or investment advice. Trading in stocks, bonds, commodities, and crypto involves a significant risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Now, is BKKT stock outpacing its business service peers this year? And you can read into this article a little bit more, and it seems that that's definitely a possibility. Now, will that lead to any gains in the stock? You can see this article was written on June 2nd. Potentially, could this, be, some good news coming out and potentially try to drive price higher? All right, this is the first pattern that we have here forming. We do have a little bit of a left shoulder here with a head and a right shoulder here trying to form. But these three levels in particular are the ones that we need to break out past above. We need to flip these to support from resistance to really go higher and get a reversal up to this $1.70 to potentially even $1.80 area. All right. So specifically, we have 143, 151, and 158. Now, keep a close eye on this 151 level. I do think that in the short term, if we're able to get above 151, either this week or within the coming weeks, there is a chance we could see a pretty nice percentage move up on BKKT. We'll break that down later. Over here is our bull flag, okay? So essentially, the breakout of this bull flag would be targeting this overhead supply zone right in the $1.75 to $1.80 region. Again, that's if we can break out past these three levels. And the reason we're looking at these three levels as major resistance is because these are the three most common and well-respected Fibonacci levels: the 61.8, the 50%, and the 38.2. So you can see we have the swing high here connected down to a swing low. So we have this very strong move to the downside, and we've retraced up to the 50% level. And if we're not able to get above those major Fibonacci retracement levels, there's a possibility we can continue the downtrend, right? Nothing moves in a straight line down and nothing moves in a straight line up. So you use the fib levels to spot your retracement levels, right? And identify, is it a move up, retracement, continuation higher, or a move down, retracement, continuation lower? That's how you use the fibs to spot trend continuation, but you can also use them to spot reversals, right? So if you move up, retrace, and you start to consolidate and break through those retracement levels, you can spot a potential downside reversal. Same thing to the upside, where if you move down, retrace, and you start to consolidate and break through those retracement levels, you have the potential of an upside reversal. And you can see here, we've had the move down, we've retraced, and we're starting to consolidate here now. Are we going to be able to get the breakout, whether it's an inverse head and shoulders or a bull flag, over the next coming days, weeks, in the short term on BKKT? It's definitely something that I'm watching and paying attention to. Now, this is Bitcoin right here. And Bitcoin, if you watched my latest tycoon talk, okay, I pretty much said that we were going to be coming back down to this area right here. And price was right around in this area here. So you can see it has followed pretty well. We are at the bottom of our bullish channel, right? So a lot of these channels right here, what this is this is algorithmic buying, right? This is very systematic algorithmic buying. And what you see is oftentimes we break out of these zones for quick liquidity grabs, right? So notice how we have this bullish structure here, and then all of a sudden we break down out of here. And we end up moving to the upside, right? And getting actually in a really, really strong push. Well, what happened was, the algos were trading here, but then all of a sudden, market makers and, the higher beings, the higher powers in the markets, they didn't have enough liquidity to really send Bitcoin to where they wanted to, which was the bullish price targets up above. And what happened is they did a liquidity grab here, stopped everyone out of their positions because they're all looking at this bullish channel. They're saying, okay, hey, if we come down to retest this area and break through, I'm going to stop out, right? And so a lot of people got stopped out here just for the play to actually work and for us to continue higher. We put in a new bullish structure here, right? A new systematic buying channel. And you see, we actually had a liquidity grab to the opposite side. So this time they wanted to drive price down lower, okay? But they didn't have the liquidity necessary. So they do a liquidity grab, stop out the shorts here, and then we actually see the short move down. So it'll be really interesting to see, do we bounce off of this 25,269 level on Bitcoin and potentially go higher? Right. Also, the bottom of this original systematic buying channel that they had in this nice structure. Or, do we potentially see another liquidity grab down to 23,917? That'll be really interesting to see. Now, if we end up breaking through these levels and flipping 23,917 to resistance from support, there's a strong likelihood Bitcoin is going to come down to the 21,000, 20,000, 19,000 region, right? Those are going to be the next price targets if we break below. But for now, it's setting up for a potential bounce. Now, remember, there's no guarantees, but we are seeing that Bitcoin potentially could bounce here. We're seeing that BKKT could potentially see a move to the upside with this bull flag or with this inverse head and shoulders. So it'll be really interesting to see how things play out over here in the short term. Now, I talked about the option chain. If you're not familiar with the gamma squeeze, what that is essentially where market makers are forced to buy 100 shares of a stock based on the option chain data, and there being a large amount of options at a certain given strike price. So what happens is when the strike price becomes in the money, what's known as in the money, and so in this case, we have the $1.50 strike price. Market makers are going to have to purchase 100 shares of the stock for each contract that's in the money. That way, if someone wants to execute their contract, their option contract, they will have the shares to then execute to them. So it may seem really complicated, but essentially what we're looking at here is there's a high open interest at the $1.50 strike price. If that's for June 9th, okay, so that's this upcoming Friday. Then June 16th, there's also a really high open interest at the $1.50 strike price. Same thing here at June 23rd at the $1.50 strike price. If you look at June 30th, $1.50 strike price is a very high open interest. And all of these are high relative to the other, to the open interest on the other strike prices, right? Now, is there a chance for some mega gamma squeeze? Well, if you look at the call open interest total, it's 102 for June 30th. So, I mean, that's not something, crazy, magnificent. Over here, the call open interest is 299. This is 102. This is 365. All right, 102 right here. So, it's not like there's like tens of thousands of option chain, or calls that are going to, force a huge gamma squeeze, but we could see a small potential gamma squeeze if we get above and hold that $1.50 level. We could see a small little boost. Okay. Now, what's really interesting is when you go farther out in expiration and you go to January of 2024, take a look at where the concentration of the strike prices are. It's at the $5 strike price, the $3 strike price, and the $2 strike price. So, long term, it seems that the option chain traders are more bullish on BKKT and think that by January 2024, it could be at $2, $3, or $5 even potentially. Now, we're going to use Simply Wall Street, today's sponsor, to do a little bit of fundamental analysis very briefly. And if you take a look here, you can compare the shareholder returns of BKKT to the market. All right. And we can take a look over the past 7 days. BKKT has outperformed the US capital markets as well as the US market. But in the past year, it has underperformed, those. So BKKT underperformed the US capital markets industry, which returned negative 3.2% over the past year. And BKKT was down 51%. And it also underperformed the US market, which returned 2.4% over the past year. It's down. So if you take a look at the price to sales ratio versus its fair ratio, it does seem like it could be expensive based on the price to sales ratio compared to its estimated fair price to sales ratio. And you can see that here with this nice little graph right here. But if you take a look at its price to sales ratio versus the industry, it is actually below the industry average. And so it could be a good value based on the price to sales ratio versus the industry. Now, not very far off. Okay. It's only at 2.3x and the industry average is 2.4x. But that is something you want to consider. Now, volatility is something else you want to consider. If you look at the industry standard or the industry volatility is actually very low. The average market volatility here is right here in the middle, and BKKT's volatility is right here at the top. Now, BKKT is more volatile than 90% of U.S. stocks over the past 3 months, typically moving up or down 18% a week. All right. If you look at the financial health, it does get a 4 out of 6 on the financial health standpoint. And the two spots that it doesn't look great at is stable cash runway and its forecasted cash runway. But when you take a look at its liabilities, debt level, and reducing debt, they have a 0% debt to equity ratio. So that looks really nice, having no debt on the books. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it, guys. I just wanted to give you guys an update on BKKT, go over some of the, things that I've been paying attention to, some of the things that I look at. If you guys want to use today's sponsor, there's a link in the pinned comment down below or in the description. And you guys can get a 14-day free trial as well as up to 40% off for the first 100 people that join.